Hello everybody, this is Akang Shoman here. Now we are going to discuss next topic, that is sensitivity of the governor. We have discussed the stability of the governor. This is the most desirable property of the governor. Similarly, sensitivity of the governor is also the most desirable property of the governor. We have studied in the stability of the governor that the governor is said to be in equilibrium, or you can say the governor is said to be in stable condition excluding friction if the restoring force are predominant. That means if the restoring force are becoming highly dominant as compared to the disturbing force, then we call it as stability of the governor. That was the most desirable property of the governor. Similarly, in this topic we are discussing about the sensitivity of the governor, because sensitivity and the stability both are the desirable property of the governor. So what is the definition for the sensitivity of the governor? That the extent of the sleeve movement, what I am going to say, the extent of the sleeve movement for the change in speed of the governor is known as the sensitivity of the governor. If you want to measure the sensitivity, how can you tell that the sensitivity of the governor is what? So the extent of the sleeve movement, the extent of the sleeve movement for the change in speed of the governor is basically the sensitivity of the governor. I am going to write here, you need to understand. In other words, I am going to explain you sensitivity of the governor. But first, what is the definitions? I am going to tell you that the extent of the sleeve movement, the extent of the sleeve movement, that is basically the sensitivity of the governor, and it is the most desirable property of the governor. Change in speed of governor. I hope you will understand the sensitivity of the governor. In other words, I can say that for the same sleeve movement, now this is just for understanding purpose. If you don't get the sensitivity of the governor by these definitions, I'm going to tell you in other words. So I'm just writing here in other words. In other words, you can say that for the same sleeve movement, the governor in which, for the same sleeve movement, for the governor in which less change in speed is required is more sensitive. Are you getting my point? So I'm going to write here, you will be able to understand. For the same sleeve movement, for the same sleeve movement, for the same sleeve movement in the governor, for the same sleeve movement, the governor in which, for the same sleeve movement, the governor in which what? The governor in which less change in speed is required, in which less change in speed is required, is more sensitivity, is more sensitive. Less change in speed, less change in speed is required, is more sensitive. Okay, I hope you will understand what is sensitivity. Is more sensitive, more sensitive. And of course, I'm going to tell you again that it is the most desirable property of the governor. It is most desirable property of the governor, as well as stability also. Most desirable property of governor. Okay. Now, what is the formula for sensitivity? I'm again explaining you the sensitivity of the governor, that the extent of the sleeve movement. You have to decide on the basis of the sleeve movement. The sensitivity of the governor is decided by the sleeve movement according to the change in speed. Okay. So if there are two governors, for example, I'm just considering if there are two governors. Okay. If there are two governors, So how can you measure the sensitivity there? For the same sleeve movement, for example, sleeve is going to move from here to here. This is the final condition and this is the final condition, and the height is same. For example, this is x and this is x. Okay, this is sleeve movement also. So for the same sleeve movement in which less change in speed is required, because we have to change the speed of the governor in order to move the sleeve. Okay, so the less change in speed is required, then becomes the more sensitive governor. Okay, so the governor for the same sleeve movement, the governor in which less change in speed is required will be more sensitive. Okay, now you are getting my point. So here I'm going to write that for the same sleeve movement, for same sleeve movement, for same sleeve movement, what can I write? For the same sleeve movement sensitivity, for the same sleeve movement sensitivity is inversely proportional to the change in speed, because if in the governor less change in speed is required, that would be more sensitive. So we can say that the sensitivity is inversely proportional to the change in speed. Yes or no? So when you remove the inversely proportional sign, proportional sign, that would be sensitivity. When you remove the proportional sign, you will get the n upon n1 minus n2, where n denotes the mean speed of the governor. Mean speed of the governor, that means it is equal to n1 plus n2 by 2. Okay, this is the mean speed. Okay, in 60 to 70% generally the sensitivity formula is this, but what the formula that you are going to use in the examinations, I'm going to tell you. Be careful here. In most of the books, or you can say in the 60 to 70% books, 60 to 70% books, sensitivity formula is given as sensitivity formula is given as n1 minus n2 upon n. So my dear students, you have to use this formula in the examination when you solve the numerical problem, because in the 70 to 80%, 60 to 70% books contain the sensitivity formula is n1 minus n2 upon n. So you have to use this formula in the examinations when you solve the questions, and if you are required to find out the sensitivity of the governor, then you have to use this formula. Just keep in mind, you can remember this, but in the numerical point of view, you have to use that formula. Again and again I'm saying that you have to use this formula. Okay, so sensitivity of the governor by considering the performance of the engine. This is basically the sensitivity determined by the performance of the engine. Okay. So I hope you will understand what is the sensitivity and what is the stability. I already told you. So I'm just giving you a note here. You just have to note it down, that we have studied the stability and the sensitivity of the governor. So these both are the sensitivity and stability. Sensitivity and stability both are the desirable property of the governor. Both are the desirable property of governor. Remember it. Okay. And the next point is sensitivity is inversely proportional to the stability. We all know, you can feel it. The governor which is stable, that means it is having less sensitivity. Okay. So I'm just writing here stability. What is the relation between stability and the sensitivity? I'm just showing you that stability is inversely proportional to the sensitivity. Okay, sensitivity. As you increase the sensitivity of the governor, okay, there will be a decrease in the stability of the governor. Okay, so I hope you will understand what is sensitivity and what is the stability. Okay, again am I saying that for the same sleeve movement, the governor which in which less change in speed is required is more sensitive. Okay, so this was the sensitivity of the governor. Okay, so